term. 12 years is long enough.
That was Susan Collins almost 30 years ago. 2 terms became 3, then 4, then 5. Now
I'm running.
she wants a 6th. It was one of the first promises Susan Collins made, but it wouldn't be the last time she told us one thing, then did another. When Donald Trump threatens our freedoms, our health care, and our democracy, Susan Collins says she's concerned.
I'm very concerned, concerned.
But when Trump needs her vote, Susan Collins keeps falling in line 96% of the time. She was a key backer of Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill that is cutting Medicaid, threatening our rural hospitals, and driving up costs for Maine families.
Tens of thousands of Mainers are now seeing double, even triple what they were previously paying for premiums.
Collins voted to give Trump's ICE billions more in funding. Now Maine communities are living in fear.
26-year-old Johann Sebastian Guerrero was killed in the shooting.
Second person in less than a week has been shot and killed by Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
And when the Senate had a chance to rein in Donald Trump's war in Iran that's driving up costs, Susan Collins voted no. Trump needed a vote for RFK Jr., who is dismantling public health protections. Collins caved. She's violated the Stock Act by failing to disclose for months 24 stock transactions worth up to $395,000.
I just wanted to ask you about your household shares in military companies, and do you think that that's a conflict of interest given your position as the chair of the Appropriations Committee?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Super PACs supporting Susan Collins took $3 million from Epstein Associates.
Senator Susan Collins is defending her vote against the latest effort to release the Epstein files.
And Susan Collins cast a decisive vote to confirm Trump's Supreme Court justices.
I will vote to confirm Judge Kavanaugh,
who overturned Roe v. Wade, banning abortion across the country.
Which of these votes do you regret the most?
Well, I don't regret any of those votes.
No regrets. Not for the freedoms her votes helped take away. Not for the health care she's put at risk. Not for voting with Donald Trump 96% of the time.
Susan Collins, you're doing good.
Give a shout out to Susan Collins, who's doing a great job.
MAGA approves, but Mainers are the ones paying the price.
She's supporting a fascist government. She's not talking to her constituents.
Susan Collins has not held a town hall for Mainers in over 25 years.
That is who Susan Collins answers to. Not the Mainers she refuses to face. Not the families paying the price for her votes. Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and the powerful interests that have kept her in Washington for 30 years. But Susan Collins has no power if we don't give it to her. We have the power to take it back. This is our moment to come together and to put an end to Susan Collins' 30 years in Washington. Together, we will defeat Susan Collins, take back the Senate, and build a brighter future for Maine.
Please welcome MDP Executive Director Devin Murphy.
What is up, Maine Democrats? Who is ready to beat Susan Collins on November 3rd? What an incredibly special day to be a Mainer, and what a great day to be a Democrat. I want to start by thanking every single delegate, every volunteer, every county committee chair, every staff member, every candidate, and every single Democrat who helped make today possible. Over the past few weeks, we have asked an incredible amount of this party. We have asked so much of you. We've asked people to adapt quickly, to organize on an unprecedented timeline, and to step up for our state and for our country, and that is exactly what every single one of you did. It is because of you that the best of our state and the best of our party, our grit, our tenacity, our kindness, our integrity, has been shining through as hope for Mainers and Americans in every single corner of our state and our country. And this has been an incredible exercise for us, that democracy, while sometimes really messy, is always, always worth fighting for. And that doing what is right, even though sometimes that's not the easiest path, doing what is right is what us Maine Democrats will choose every damn time. And that there is no amount of pressure or noise or national attention that will cause us Mainers and will cause us Democrats to stray or abandon our values. Because from the very beginning, Maine, this was our process. And when push comes to shove, what us Mainers always do is choose each other. We help each other. We support each other. We step up for each other. And it just so happens that this time that we were living out our values, we did it with the world watching, so thank you. Thank you for standing strong under pressure, for getting involved in this process, for engaging in our precious democracy, and for strengthening our party. Today belongs to you. I am so incredibly proud of what we have built together, but today is not just about looking backward. Today is also about what comes next. Because while we are gathered here today, there is a new father in our state taking on yet another job to help make ends meet. There is a grandmother who, after spending her entire life working, just lost her SNAP benefits. There's a small business struggling to survive under the crushing Trump tariffs, and there is a new Maine family who is terrified to send their babies to school and to drive to work for fear of being snatched off of our streets or murdered in broad daylight by masked federal agents that are a part of Trump's rogue police force. That new father is my little brother, a lobsterman in Harpswell. He's making the impossible decision to leave his new family behind to go offshore fishing, because as us Mainers struggle, Susan Collins is getting richer. And that grandmother is my yaya, and she is losing her SNAP benefits because of Susan Collins' vote to advance Trump's budget bill. And that small business is my aunt and uncle's welding business in Cundy's Harbor that is crushed by Trump's steel tariffs that Susan Collins supported and voted for. And those immigrant parents, well, they are all of our neighbors. And they are living in fear because Susan Collins stood with Trump and voted to hand ICE a blank check to continue to fund the terrorization of our communities. They are why we are here today. Our communities and our neighbors and our families and our friends deserve better than Susan Collins. Today, we are choosing the next Democratic nominee for the United States Senate, not just simply because we had to fill a vacancy, but because Maine deserves a senator who fights for them. Someone who will prioritize working families in the same way that Susan Collins prioritizes her corporate billionaire donors. And we deserve someone who will protect our reproductive freedom, not Susan Collins, who strips it away with, her words, no regrets. And we deserve someone who believes that our democracy is worth defending like every single one of us in this room, and not put it at risk by voting with Donald Trump 96% of the time. This election is about the future of our state. It is about each other. It's about the future of our country. And it is about accountability. For way too damn long, Susan Collins has promised one thing and delivered another. And time after time after time, when the stakes have been highest for us Mainers, she has chosen her donors and her corporate interests over the people she represents, which is us. And let me be very clear, this moment belongs to us. This election belongs to us. And that this opportunity before us today, in just a few minutes, we will have our Democratic nominee for the United States Senate, and from that moment on, every single one of us will have the same job. We will leave this convention as one team. We will walk out of these doors as the Maine Democratic Party that is stronger than ever. Because defeating Susan Collins is bigger than just one campaign, and it is bigger than just one person. And the world, to be clear, will continue to watch. Because this race has consequences for Americans in every single corner of our great nation. And to that we say, we're up for the task. Because as the world also now knows, us Mainers are fighters, and we lead with integrity and kindness, and our eye has never once left the ball. And that North Star is to beat Susan Collins in November. And just like you, I have watched this party over the last few weeks. I've watched us collectively step up to meet this moment. I've watched our staff and our volunteers work late into the night and around the clock and pull a lot of all-nighters. And I've watched county committees solve impossible logistical challenges. I've watched Democrats who have never been involved before raise their hand and say, how can I help this party? How can I help this state? How can I serve my country? And the people in this room and the people that are watching, what our message is to you is that this energy is real. This commitment to this race and this fight is real. The momentum is real. Our grassroots are real. And if we carry it forward from this convention into every single community across our great state, we will be unstoppable. So today, I ask everyone in this room to remember why you got involved in the first place. Because I can guarantee it wasn't because the path was guaranteed. It was because you believed that Maine deserved better. You have your own family members that matter in this moment to you, who you're fighting for. You believed that our democracy was worth fighting for. You believed that when people come together around our shared values, that we can accomplish extraordinary things together. And that is what today represents. Not the end of a process, but the beginning of real change. So, let's leave here united. Let's leave here energized. Let's leave here ready to do the work. Let's leave here ready to win. And let's finally retire Susan Collins by electing the next Democratic United States Senator from Maine. Thank you, Maine. Thank you, Democrats. Now let's go win this thing.
Please welcome back to the stage MDP Chair Charlie Dingman.
Good morning again. It's still morning. The Tellers Committee has certified the final vote to me. I have it here. And to the Secretary, pursuant to Section 10.7 of the call. The Teller Committee report is in front of me, and it has 3 lines, and I will read them from the bottom up. You should all be proud of yourselves. The number of invalid ballots is 0. Five votes were cast for Sandra Pelletier, and 566 votes for Troy Jackson. Now, if I may have your attention for a couple more minutes. I'm sorry. This is the dry part, but it's very important. As you know, between the 10th of July and today, we have had to work out a new process, and we need to take the final steps in that process right now. I want to promise you that immediately after we complete these steps, you will have another opportunity to hear from your U.S. Senate nominee. So please don't leave after the gavel. Thank you. The chair recognizes Jeanette Rivard. Jeanette Rivard, a state committee delegate, and understands that Jeanette Rivard moves the adoption of the convention report by the members of the Democratic State Committee. That report reads as follows: pursuant to the procedures set forth in the call for a nominating convention and the certified vote of the nominating convention, the Maine Democratic Party, let me read this motion correctly, Jeanette, I'm sorry. The Maine Democratic State Committee formally selects Troy Jackson as the replacement nominee for the Maine Democratic Party's candidate for U.S. Senate on the 2026 general election ballot. The Maine Democratic State Committee further authorizes and directs the chair and secretary of the Maine Democratic Party to deliver the required certificate to the Secretary of State in accordance with Title 21A of the Maine Revised Statutes, Section 363, and to take all other necessary steps to effectuate the placement on the general election ballot of the party's chosen replacement candidate. Is there a second for Ms. Rivard? It has been moved and seconded. This vote, again, is a vote to be taken only by the members of the Democratic State Committee. So those of you who have Democratic State Committee credentials and you are seated together, I would ask you to use the cards that you have been given, a green card for yes and a red card for no. All those in favor of adopting the nominating convention report, which I have just read, please raise your green cards. Thank you. And those opposed, please raise your red cards. The green cards have it. The motion carries. The convention report is hereby adopted, and Troy Jackson is officially certified as the Democratic Party's nominee for United States Senator in the 2026 general election in Maine. There being no other business necessary to conduct this convention, we are now ready to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn? It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And those opposed, no. This convention is adjourned. It is now my honor, and I am delighted to welcome our new Democratic U.S. Senate nominee to speak to you.
We've been robbed of so many things in this world by the people controlling it.
You know, I think about my sons, I think about my wife, my granddaughter who hasn't been born yet, and those things to me are everything in this world. And what little time we have is being stolen by an oligarchy who see us as nothing more than a commodity.
You know, we're seeing a movement of everyday working class people, people that have been left behind, people that don't have health insurance, people that don't have child care, people that are looking for a government that's going to fight for them.
Together, we can fix what's broken in Washington. We can pass Medicare for all. We can take on corporate power and the politicians in their pocket. We can create the future Mainers and Americans deserve.
They said that a bunch of loggers could not take on the big landowners exploiting them. But we did. And they said a guy from Alleygas could not rise to the Maine Senate. And I did. And now they're going to say that a grassroots campaign powered by working people cannot defeat Susan Collins. But you know what?
They're wrong.
They're wrong again. We're not from the left. We're not from the right. We're from the bottom, and we're rising. And I know what happens when working people decide that they've had enough. We lock arms, we fight back, and then we win. Let's go and beat Susan Collins and send a working class fighter from the North Woods of Maine to the United States Senate.
Please welcome your Democratic nominee for United States Senate, Troy Jackson.
Well, thank you, Maine. Thank you, brothers and sisters. And thank you to the delegates who placed their faith and their trust in me, the volunteers and the organizers who built this campaign, my family that I can't, thank enough, the people of the St. John Valley and Mercer County, and everyone who stood beside me through every fight, every step, every misstep. And thank you to every candidate who stepped forward during an extraordinary moment for the party. I spoke. Yeah. I just spoke with Sandra out back, and Sandra is all in on trying to make this happen. Yeah, and I really appreciate it.
So outside of my family, my immediate family, because all of you are my family, outside of them, this is the absolute honor of my life to accept the Democratic nomination for the U.S. Senate. As you all know, this process came together faster than any of us expected. Again, the Democratic Party, Charlie, the whole staff, Devin, I mean, incredible work. But this is important. You know, the movement represented in this room did not just begin 2 weeks ago. You know, whether you supported me from the beginning, supported another candidate, or are still deciding what you think of this fifth-generation logger from Allagash, depends on who you ask. But seriously, I know, I've always known this, that your trust has to be earned. And so I want you to hear this directly from me. There is a place in this campaign for all of you. There is work for you in this movement. And I will spend every day, now through November, earning that trust. Because today, we turn the page. Today, this becomes a general election campaign. And today, we begin the work of defeating Susan Collins in November. So you all have heard this before, but I grew up in Allagash in a family of loggers, and I went to work in the woods after high school and spent years doing dangerous work for long hours and most of the time without health insurance. And again, everyone that's in that profession works hard. And we tried to take care of our families. We did follow the rules. But the harder we worked, the more that the companies took from us. And that literally was their mantra. We'll make you more productive so we can cut your rate. And the further behind that we would fall. And when we spoke up, nobody listened. You know, they wanted us, they expected us to accept that. You know, just keep your head down. You know, be grateful the little scraps that you're given. And you know, we weren't. You know, and that's why we got together and organized, and why we stood together, and why we ended up having to blockade the border. And we made them listen to the real reality of what was going on. And that fight opened my eyes. It changed my life. I mean, I went from somebody that didn't want to get out of line, was told not to get on the line, to where now I understand that you have to get out of line because the people in power are keeping us there. And, and so it really did teach me that working people, despite all of our challenges, are not powerless. You know, we're only made to feel powerless when we stand alone. And that is what they try and do, is divide us. And that's why I entered public life. You know, fought for working people in the legislature and in the Maine Senate. And it's why I'm running for the United States Senate today. Because the same thing that happened to us as loggers that I work beside is happening all across this state and all across this country to working people. You know, working people are in their sights all the time.
You know, people are doing everything they can right and still cannot get ahead. They're working 2 or 3 jobs to survive. And this is important too. Something I've tried to talk about for the past couple of months, and something I don't know if I can actually articulate, but we're losing what little time we have with our families. You know, I spend all my time trying to catch up for a life lost with my kids. And I see it, you know, with people everywhere. You know, they've made it so hard that we're always chasing something to try and put it all together, and our families suffer. You know, they always do. And you know, trying to fight for the things that make your life worth living, to me, is the greatest thing that any of us can do. Because, you know, this economy is not just about taking our money, and I really believe this. It is about taking pieces of our lives away from us. You know, they're watching the price of groceries climb while food companies report record profits. They're skipping doses of medication, canceling checkups. And seriously, and I know this very well, they're praying to God that they don't get sick because they can't afford another damn bill. And young Mainers across the state are wondering whether they'll be able to buy a home in the communities where they grew up, where they lived. And this, too, is, you know, ridiculous. But older Mainers are wondering whether their retirement that they worked their entire lives for will still be there for them. And rural communities are watching their jobs, their schools, and their hospitals disappear, and it's affecting the urban areas also. And Susan Collins keeps telling us everything is just fine. And and you know, they act like, you know, we're idiots. But, you know, we know it isn't. You know, we all have eyes. We can see what's happening. We can see our paychecks and the bills that we have. And we know that we are getting screwed. And we also know who's to blame. And I'm running to change that. So I am running to pass Medicare for all. To take on corporate price gouging and build housing that folks in the state can actually afford. And I'm running to protect Social Security and Medicare. They're not going to touch that. And give every worker the freedom to organize a union without intimidation or retaliation. And I will fight to restore abortion rights nationwide. I'm going to stand shoulder to shoulder with our LGBTQ Mainers and stand up to Donald Trump and ICE when they attack our workers, terrorize our neighbors, and threaten the freedoms generations of us fought to secure. Look, that's what all of us here in Maine deserves from the next United States Senator, and in the exact opposite of what Susan Collins has given us. Susan Collins promised she would only serve 2 terms. She made that promise in the fall of 1996. And that same fall, my father and I were watching work dry up in the logging industry. And by the next spring, we had to sell what we had to get out from under the debt. And like many people, I was just trying to figure out how to keep taking care of my family. 30 years later, Susan Collins is still in Washington. So I do have one question. Who has she served? She has served Donald Trump. She voted with him 96% of the time. She helped deliver enormous tax breaks to the corporations and the wealthy on our backs. And she voted to confirm Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, the Supreme Court justices who overturned Roe versus Wade. She has served the billionaires and corporations that fund her campaigns, and they've spent millions to keep her in Washington. And in return, she's voted for historic tax breaks for the people at the top, while working families are left paying the bill. And when Mainers needed her the most, she has served herself. Collins is now worth millions, and she still refuses to support a ban on members of Congress trading stocks. I mean, that is the ultimate. Susan Collins and I both come from Aroostook County. I thought Aroostook was over here. But that is where the similarities end. Because I've always known, I know now, I'll know tomorrow exactly who I work for. After 30 years in Washington, she definitely seems that she's forgotten. For 30 years, she's told us that she's concerned. But look, concern is not courage. And what she says in Maine does not erase what she does down in Washington. So one way or the other, this November, she will answer to the people of Maine. Because this election is not going to be decided by corporate PACs, big pharma, insurance companies, or the billionaires funding Susan Collins. It will be decided in union halls and at kitchen tables. It's going to be decided out on those front porches in conversations between neighbors and communities that have been ignored or taken for granted for far too long. And it will be decided by people that have never volunteered for a campaign before. Because they know, we know it in our soul that we cannot afford 6 more years of the same thing. And that's how we, together, we will win this. Person by person, town by town, county by county. We will welcome Democrats, Independents, Republicans who believe that working people finally deserve a fair deal. Even when we don't agree on every issue, because this movement is not from the left, it is not from the right, it's from the bottom, and we are rising! Susan wants us to believe
that she is unbeatable. Here's what I have to say about that. You know, I've spent my entire life, many of you, being told that people like us are not supposed to have power. You know, they told us that a bunch of loggers could not take on the companies exploiting us. But we did. And they said a guy from Allagash could never lead the Maine Senate or stand up to the special interests. But I did. So now they will say that a grassroots campaign powered by working people cannot defeat Susan Collins and every powerful interest standing behind her. They are wrong again. Because we can together, shoulder to shoulder, we can defeat Susan Collins, and we can take back that Senate seat. And we can build a government that finally works for working Mainers, not the power brokers who write the biggest checks anymore. But look, there's never been a campaign that I won on my own. And this one, I cannot do it alone. Because this campaign, honestly, belongs to all of us. I can feel it every time I talk to somebody, the belief that there has to be a change in our government. There has to be a way that works for us. So if you've ever been ignored, underestimated, pushed around, or told that you have to wait your turn while the rich cut the line, I'm asking you to stand with us in this campaign. If you believe in your heart that health care is a right, stand with us. And if you believe that workers deserve power, stand with us. And if you believe our freedoms are worth defending, stand with us. And if you believe that Maine deserves a senator who will fight like hell for working class people, well, stand with us. We have a party to unite, we have a movement to build, and we have a senator to defeat. And together, we are going to win. I can't thank you anymore. I am so inspired by all of you. God bless you, and let's get to work winning this race.
Subscribe to One India and never miss an update. Download the One India app now.